This is the third part of Module 6 for CIT 1121. This is Module, I just said that. This is the data link frame. Let's talk about the frame header for a second. The frame header, there's really a couple different parts to it. We've got the header, we got the data, and we got the trailer, right? So the part that I normally talk about is we talk about the frame header all the time. We're like, oh, the frame header's got to be formatted correctly. The frame header's got to do this. The frame header's got to do that. The data section, as far as the frame header is concerned, includes stuff we've talked about before. The packet header, the segment header, and the actual data all count as the data section when you're calling something a frame. So when you get into the idea of what a PDU is, right, a protocol data unit. So PDU, protocol data unit. And when we think about that, we say, okay, well, that looks like this. That has a beginning, and the beginning is called the frame header, and the frame header is here. And then right after that, we put in something called a packet header. And after the packet header, there is another header. This is all addressable stuff called a segment header. And after the segment header, we have the data section. And this is the actual usable data by the other device. We went through this in other slides. And then something I never talk about, very rarely talk about, is there's a little piece here on the end, and it is called an FCS or a CRC. Frame check sequence or cyclical redundancy check. And in both cases, what this is just to check to see how much stuff is here. Because there's going to be X amount of bits, right? And what the CRC is going to say is that, okay, this is how many bits should have been sent. So it's going to say you should have gotten X bits, right? And the idea behind this is simple, is device receives the information, and it's so many bits. Now, in a normal PDU, this is going to be somewhere between, 64 at the very minimum, up to about 1,500, and then that's it. That's all we're going to send, right? So if this number doesn't equal whatever this comes out at, let's say we come up with like somewhere around 1,500, and then the CRC check says that it's really supposed to be like 350. If these numbers don't jive, then you're going to drop the frame. So it's just a way to check for error correction. So it's kind of like, if you've ever worked in warehousing or just received packages, you're like, okay, the manifest that I received said there's supposed to be 5 packages. Do I have 5 packages? Yeah. Do they have everything that I want in them? I don't know. I know I have 5. I'm supposed to get 5. That's it. This is exactly what a frame check sequence is. This is how much stuff we sent. If you counted this much, the same amount, it's probably good. Okay, so that's what the CRC check is there for. We'll get into that a little bit later. As far as the header goes, the header section is just this piece right here known as the frame header, and that's going to contain the MAC addresses and the type field for whatever's moving forward. Not a big deal there. And then you get into the layer 2 addresses. This just talks about the idea that there is a layer 2 address that we're also going to call the physical address. So when we say a layer 2 address or physical address, or we call it a MAC address, those are all the same thing. Those are all the same thing. It's always going to be in the frame header, and that's really its only job to reside there. Later, we'll get into how a switch works in Chapter 7, or Module 7, and we'll go a little deeper into this. But this is about as far as we need to go for the end of what we have for Module 6.